Hey guys, welcome back to Chariot Palmistry. My name is Sulabh Jain, and in this video I'm going to be giving you guys my economic predictions on what I think is going to be happening in 2021. I'm going to look at the stock market, gold and silver, cryptocurrencies, and all that fun jazz. But first, let's close off 2020 by finalizing my predictions from that year. And I'll throw up a screenshot of my last update video in December. And what happened at that point is I put a big question mark on my prediction of more money printing between mid-November to December. At that point, I wasn't sure if the US was actually going to go ahead with it. Since that time though, they have actually done their stimulus. And my other prediction that I marked with a cross on it, that the gold-silver price would rise, I marked that as wrong because at the time, from mid-November, the price of gold and silver actually had gone down. However, by the end of December, it had gone up, and so that prediction I'm changing to right. The one I got wrong though was my mid-December prediction that there would be a Bitcoin price correction. And that in no way panned out at all. So I'm going to give myself a wrong on that one. And to wrap up the year, we'll say that my predictions were right 20 out of 22 times. So I'm very happy with that track record. Now let's have a look at the year of 2021 and how the energy is going to be sitting this year. Basically, this is going to be a year of joy and optimism. But to make some context out of that, let me throw up a screenshot of a video I made at the start of last year, where I predicted that 2020 was going to be ruled by the planet Saturn, and that would give fear to everybody. 2021 is going to be ruled by the planet Jupiter, which is going to give joy and optimism to everyone. And 2022 is all about Saturn again, which is going to instill fear in people once again. But we'll cover 2022 at a later time. For now, let's focus on this year alone. But to put some context into this, let me show you guys a stock chart of last year of the S&P 500, just to get an idea of what I mean by fear. Now this was the stock market over most of last year, and I want you guys to answer one simple question. Was this a good year or a bad year? Because if you think the stock market was bad, you're probably looking at this period over here where we had one of the biggest crashes in history on a nominal and percentage basis. And incidentally, we predicted that from the top of the market in January to the crash happening in March itself. That was all based of Saturn's energy. And then, for those of you who think it was a good year, you're probably looking at this run up over here, because this was one of the biggest bull runs in the history of the stock market too. Again, on a nominal basis and a percentage basis as well. And we were actually able to predict that one as well, because that period there is when Jupiter entered into Capricorn. So we got the two major moves of the market right, the big downward fall and then the big upward fall. Incidentally, we picked a couple of these other ones here as well. But where I'm going with this is this a good year or is this a bad year? And I want to give you guys a third option here too, because if we look at where the year started and compare it to where the year ended, it only went up by about 10%. And that's actually an average year for the stock market. So for those of you who think we had a bad year, you're right. For those of you who think we had a good year, you're right on that one too. For those of you who think it was just an average, uneventful year, you can rationally make your case for that one as well. 2020 was everything and it was all muddled up. And the reason I'm asking this question of you guys is just to understand the energy here. Because in ancient Indian thinking, we talked about what they call anek davta, which is a multifaceted worldview. The truth, or to understand truth, is to look at something from lots of different angles and lots of different perspectives. And that's how I want you guys to look at 2021. Because although I'm saying it is a buoyant, optimistic, joyful year for everybody, there's still going to be enough fear going on that it's still going to rattle a lot of people. In 2020, I looked at the planet Saturn. And to mark my predictions, I was looking at Saturn relative to the Sun, because they're father and son in Hindu mythology. So I can make monthly predictions based off that. In 2021, I'm going to be looking not only at Jupiter, I'll also have to look at its sun, Mercury. And I'd also need to look at Mercury's other father, the Moon. So this year, there's actually going to be two lists of predictions. There's going to be an annual list of what I think is going to be like the general trend throughout the year. Then I'll also give you a second list with a month-by-month breakdown of the entire year as well. So let's get into this for 2021. This is the annual list of predictions of the overall general trend of the year. My first prediction is that of inflation. With Jupiter sitting in Capricorn, that's going to cause the price of everything to go up. From food to oil, you name it, inflation's going to kick in and costs will be rising. My second prediction is that there's going to be major money printing going on all around the world. Now, it may come by the name of stimulus checks, it may come under the discussion or the guise of UBI, Universal Basic Income. But one way or another, the governments aren't done handing you free money this year. Having said that, the governments and the central banks are not going to be saints. I think they're also going to be putting restrictions on access to your money. That's either going to come through negative interest rates or through bank restrictions like they did in Cyprus and Greece a couple of years ago. In either case, there's going to be so much money going around that not many people will have access to that money. And as a result of all this inflation and money printing, I believe that gold and silver price will go up extremely high this year. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see silver reach or exceed its all-time highs. And for those of you who are members on this channel, you'll know that I've been preparing you guys for months to take advantage of this. And by the way, for those of you guys who would like to support this channel and become members, click on this link over here. For only a few dollars every month, you guys get weekly update videos on where I think the energy is going to be sitting throughout this year. But back to the predictions. I also believe that there's going to be a Bitcoin bubble developing this year. A lot of people think Bitcoin is already in a bubble right now, and I tend to disagree with that. I think we're going to enter its parabolic phase in the second half of this year. And my last annual prediction is that I believe there will be an unprecedented amount of currency volatility this year. For those of you into Forex, this is a year where you could either make a lot of money, or this is a year where you could lose the shirt off your back. So be very, very careful. Now that's the energy of this year looking at the planet Jupiter alone. Now we're going to break this down into a month-by-month basis looking at Mercury and the Moon as well. And one of the problems with this year is that a month won't be defined by a calendar month anymore. Last year when we were looking at Saturn and the Sun, we could define a month on a calendar basis because the Sun travels a zodiac sign every month. This year, Mercury doesn't travel as fluidly as the Sun does, and neither does the Moon. So there's going to be a little bit of crossover here with some of these predictions. But having said that, let's jump straight into it. In January, I believe that there's going to be a stock market pullback. Now, I'm also predicting a major metals rise, although that could happen from the middle of January through to about the end of February. So we'll put a 6-week buffer on that prediction. In April, I believe there's going to be a stock market correction, and we're also going to be seeing the price of gold and silver rise into the second week of April. And having said that, I wouldn't be surprised if after that point there's a gold and silver price correction happening in the 4th week of April into the 1st week of May. You guys can see what I mean by a calendar month not being a month energetically this year. Energy is going to leak over from one month into another one. In the month of May, however, I think there's going to be a major real estate boom that begins. A lot of people are predicting real estate catastrophe this year. I actually think the opposite. It's going to start booming. So for those of you who are thinking of buying your home or something along those lines, you've got until about the end of May to take action on that. I'm also predicting a stock market fall, although again I think it's going to be a minor correction in about the 4th week of May into the 1st week of June. And I also believe that there's going to be more general stimulus coming around. I wouldn't be surprised if some of that stimulus is also real estate related, and that's the thing that's going to create the real estate boom. Basically, the banks and central banks are going to make it so easy for you guys to borrow money to buy a house or to invest in property, and I think that's the direction things are headed in. In the month of June, I predict a major Bitcoin price rise. I'm also predicting more stimulus and money printing, which in turn will cause the price of gold and silver to rise, and some of that money is also going to go into the stock market to cause a rise over there too. And although June looks like a really good month, I'm also predicting major business bankruptcies in the 3rd and 4th week of the month. And then we get into July, and I think there's going to be another big stock market rise happening in maybe the second or third week of that month. I'll then take August and September as one single month, that 8-week period I'm counting together. I think there's going to be a stock market correction at that point. I'm also predicting a Bitcoin price fall, and also after all of that settles, after that point, I think the stock market is going to start to rise again towards the second half of September. And then we get into the final few months of 2021, where the energy gets really strange. At this point, I'm not quite sure where the energetic end of this year is going to be. It's basically between the end of November into the first week of December. On the 19th of June, there's going to be a lunar eclipse. On the 20th of January, I think Jupiter is going to leave Capricorn and enter into Aquarius. Then on the 4th of December, there's going to be a solar eclipse. So New Year's this year, energetically speaking, is actually going to be spread across 16 days. So a slow and steady churning of energy from optimism into the fear of 2022. We'll get back to all of that and how those predictions are going to pan out. But at this point, I want to wish you guys a very happy and successful 2021. If you guys do have any questions, put them in the comment section below. If you guys want to see my political predictions on what I think is going to be happening this year, click on this video. Thanks a lot.